The morning was cold. A soft fog rolled across the ground like a blanket, and the streets were quiet. In the empty parking lot of a small animal shelter, an old car pulled in slowly. The engine rumbled, then stopped. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. He looked around nervously, as if hoping no one was watching. In the back seat, a golden retriever sat patiently. His name was Max. His eyes were bright, and his tail wagged the moment the man opened the door. Max didn't know this was a sad day. He was happy, just like he always was. He thought they were going on an adventure. "Come on, boy," the man whispered. His voice shook a little. Max jumped out of the car and stood close to him, tail swaying, waiting for a walk or maybe a game of fetch. But the man didn't have a leash. He didn't throw a ball. He knelt down and hugged Max tightly. For a few long seconds, he didn't move. Then, without a word, he stood up. "Stay, Max. Stay here, boy," he said quietly. Max tilted his head. "Stay here." The man got back in the car, closed the door, and started the engine. Max barked once, confused. He trotted after the car as it pulled away. Then he started to run. The tires crunched over the gravel. Max chased the car for a few seconds, barking louder, thinking maybe it was a game. But the car didn't stop. It drove to the end of the lot, turned a corner, and disappeared. Max stood alone. His ears were up. His tail slowed, then stopped. He stared at the road for a long time. An hour later, a staff member at the shelter arrived for her shift. She noticed Max lying by the fence near the entrance, his head resting on his paws. "Hey, buddy, where did you come from?" she asked softly. Max didn't move. He just stared at the road. She walked closer, gently reaching out. "You lost." He didn't growl. He didn't run. He looked at her with calm, sad eyes. She saw the collar around his neck. It had a name. Max. No phone number. She led him inside the shelter. He followed without a fight, still glancing back over his shoulder, just in case the car came back. They scanned his microchip. His name was Max, and he had an owner. But the number on file didn't work. The address was empty. It turned out the man had lost his home last month. No one knew where he'd gone. That night, Max stayed in a warm kennel with a soft blanket and food. But he didn't eat. He didn't lie down. He stood near the door, staring through the bars, waiting. The staff left the lights low, and the radio playing soft music. One volunteer stayed a little longer. She sat by Max's kennel and whispered, "It's okay, sweet boy. You're safe now." Max blinked slowly, but his eyes stayed on the door. He didn't understand why he was here. He didn't know why his person had left him. But one thing was clear to everyone who met Max in those first hours. He wasn't broken. He wasn't angry. He was waiting. Max stayed by the kennel door all night. He didn't sleep. He didn't lie down. He just stood there, watching. When the morning sun came through the windows, the shelter came alive with sounds. Dogs barking, staff moving around, food bowls clinking. But Max stayed quiet. He didn't bark. He didn't wag his tail. One of the volunteers, a kind woman named Lisa, stopped by his kennel. "Good morning, Max," she said in a soft voice. "Are you hungry?" She opened the door slowly and slid a bowl of food inside. Max looked at it. He sniffed the air. Then he turned away. Lisa frowned. "No breakfast, huh?" She sat outside his kennel and watched him. She tried offering a treat, but Max just stared at the wall. He wasn't scared. He wasn't mean. He was just sad. Lisa sighed and whispered, "Poor boy. You're still waiting, aren't you?" Max's ears twitched at her voice, but he didn't move. Days passed. Every morning, Max walked to the edge of his kennel and stared at the shelter door. He sat there for hours, eyes fixed on the entrance like he was sure it would open, and someone he loved would walk through. He still didn't bark. He didn't play with toys. When the other dogs ran outside to chase balls and roll in the grass, Max only followed to the gate. He'd sit there quietly, nose in the wind, waiting. It broke everyone's heart. One afternoon, a young man named Jordan, who worked at the shelter, noticed something. "I think Max is guarding the gate," he said to Lisa. "Like he's afraid to leave. Like he thinks, if he stays right here, his person will come back." Lisa nodded, her eyes full of tears. "He's so loyal." The shelter posted Max's photo on social media. In it, he was sitting by the gate, his big golden eyes full of hope and sadness. They wrote, "This is Max. He was left at our shelter last week. He still believes his person is coming back. He waits by the door every day. He doesn't bark. He doesn't eat much. He just waits. Please share his story." The photo touched people deeply. It was shared thousands of times. Comments poured in from all over the world. "This breaks my heart. Dogs love harder than we deserve. I hope Max finds someone who never leaves him again." One night, while the staff cleaned up and turned off the lights, Max began to pace. His ears were up. His tail was stiff. He walked to the door and whimpered softly, just once. Then he let out a long, low howl. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It sounded like sorrow. Like a question he didn't know how to ask. Lisa rushed over. She knelt beside his kennel. "Max." He walked to her slowly, laid his head near her hand, and let out another soft sound. It was the first time he'd come that close. Lisa whispered, "You're not alone, Max. We see you. We care." Max looked at her. His eyes were full of something deep, like he was still holding on, still believing, even if his heart was breaking. And in that quiet, painful moment, something changed. Max wasn't just waiting for someone anymore. The world had started waiting with him. Max didn't change. Every day, he sat by the gate, watching. His eyes followed every car that passed, every person who walked by. But nothing ever happened. No one came for him. Lisa, the volunteer, tried everything to get him to eat. She placed bowls of food in front of him, but Max only sniffed them and turned away. It was as if he didn't care about food. He only cared about one thing, the person who had left him. One morning, Lisa stood in the shelter's office, scrolling through her phone during a break. She looked at Max's photo again, his sad, waiting eyes, his golden fur, and his stillness by the gate. She couldn't get it out of her mind. Something told her Max's story wasn't over. But what could she do? Lisa had an idea. She decided to search online for anyone who might be looking for a dog like Max. She posted his photo on local Facebook pages, in lost and found groups, and even contacted the animal control officers. Maybe someone had been trying to find him. Maybe someone who loved him was out there. Hundreds of people saw Max's story, but there were no answers. No one came forward. Still, Lisa didn't give up. She spent hours sending emails, calling people, and even making flyers. She was determined to help Max. As days passed, something unexpected started to happen. More people started sharing his photo. Max's story touched hearts far away. One day, Lisa received a message from a woman named Anna. Anna said she thought she knew Max. She explained that her brother, Sam, had adopted a dog named Max years ago, but he had lost touch with his family after moving to a new city. Anna had seen Max's photo and instantly recognized him. "That's Sam's dog," she wrote. "I think I know where he is. He moved away to a new place, and I haven't heard from him in months. I'll try to reach him." Lisa's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the answer? Anna quickly got to work, calling her brother Sam. She hadn't been able to reach him for weeks, but she kept trying. The phone rang and rang, but there was no answer. Then, finally, she got through. Sam's voice was shaky. "Anna, what's going on?" She explained everything. Max's photo, the shelter, how he had been left behind. Sam was silent for a long time. Finally, he whispered, "I never wanted to leave him. I thought about Max every day. But when I lost my job, and had to move. I just didn't know what to do. I couldn't keep him anymore." Anna's voice softened. "But Max is still waiting for you. He's been at the shelter, and he hasn't given up on you. He hasn't stopped waiting." Sam's voice cracked. "I don't deserve his love. He deserves better than me." Anna didn't say anything for a moment. Then she said, "Max never stopped waiting. Maybe it's time you didn't give up on him either." Sam felt a weight in his chest. He thought of the years he had spent with Max. The walks, the cuddles, the quiet nights. He had promised Max he would always take care of him. How could he have let him down? "I have to go get him," Sam said, his voice full of regret and determination. "I can't leave him there." Anna smiled through her tears. "I'll help you. We'll get Max back." That same night, Sam booked a flight. It would take him a day to reach the shelter, but Max's story had given him something he hadn't had in months: hope. He was going to find Max and bring him home. The next morning, Lisa received a message from Anna. "Sam is coming," she wrote. "He's on his way to you." Max was still sitting by the gate when Lisa saw the message. His eyes were locked on the road, waiting for something. Maybe this time, something was finally going to change. Max was still waiting. Every day, he sat by the shelter's gate, his eyes never leaving the road. He wasn't playing with the other dogs. He wasn't eating. He wasn't barking. Max had one job, and one job only: to wait for the person who had left him. Lisa watched him every day. She could see how tired he was, but he never gave up. He always went back to the gate, his eyes scanning every passing car. It was as if he knew something was about to change, but he didn't know when. One morning, as Lisa was cleaning the kennel, she received a call from Anna. She had good news. "He's on his way," Anna said, almost breathless. "Sam is coming today. He's taking a flight right now. He'll be there by afternoon." Lisa's heart skipped a beat. "Really? That's amazing," she exclaimed. She looked over at Max, who was sitting by the gate, watching a car drive by. Max doesn't know it yet, but his person is coming to get him. The excitement in Lisa's voice made Max perk up. He stood a little straighter, his ears twitching as if he heard something in the distance, but still, no one came. Lisa hung up the phone and rushed to tell the other staff members. Everyone was buzzing with excitement. It had been so long since Max had been left behind, and now the moment was finally coming. The shelter had shared Max's story with the world, and now, it seemed, the universe was answering. The afternoon dragged on. Max still sat by the gate, his eyes fixed on the road. The minutes felt like hours. Lisa kept checking her phone, waiting for an update. Sam's flight was scheduled to land in the late afternoon, but she knew it would take some time for him to get to the shelter. Even so, she couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation building in her chest. Finally, as the sun began to set, the sound of a car engine grew louder. Max's ears shot up. His eyes locked on the road, his tail twitching slightly. Lisa walked over to Max and knelt down beside him. "Hey boy," she whispered, her voice gentle. "Your person is almost here." Max didn't move. He didn't bark or wag his tail. He just stared. The car pulled into the shelter parking lot. Max's head snapped to the side. His whole body tensed. Then the car stopped, and the door opened. Lisa felt her breath catch in her throat. She looked at Max, and for the first time in days, she saw a spark in his eyes. Sam stepped out of the car. His face was tired, but there was a look of determination in his eyes. He had driven for hours to get to the shelter. The moment he stepped onto the ground, he looked around, almost as if he were searching for something or someone. "Max," he called softly. Max's ears twitched. Sam took a few slow steps forward, then stopped. He hesitated. His hands were shaking, but he couldn't help it. He had missed Max so much, and he wasn't sure if Max would even remember him. "Max," he said again, his voice cracking. "It's me. I'm here, buddy." For a long moment, Max didn't move. He just stared at Sam, as if trying to make sure this was real. Was it really him? The man he had been waiting for all this time? And then, Max took a step forward. Then another. His tail began to wag slowly. His eyes never left Sam. Sam crouched down, his arms open. "Come here, boy." The moment Max saw him reach out, he ran. Max sprinted toward him, barking excitedly, his tail wagging wildly. Sam fell to his knees just in time to catch him. Max jumped into his arms, licking his face, covering him in joyful slobber. Sam laughed, tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Max. I'm so sorry I left you." Max responded by licking Sam's cheeks, as if forgiving him completely, as if the bond between them had never broken. Lisa stood back, watching the reunion unfold before her eyes. She could feel the love between them, the unspoken connection that had never truly faded. Max had waited, and now his patience had been rewarded. The world had been waiting for this moment too. The shelter staff stood together, watching the scene, their hearts swelling with happiness. Max had come home. Max was finally home. Sam held him in his arms, his face buried in the soft golden fur. Max's tail thumped against Sam's chest, and the joy in the air was contagious. Lisa and the other shelter staff gathered around, watching the reunion with tears in their eyes. It had been a long journey for both Max and Sam, but they were together again, and that was all that mattered. "Max," Sam whispered, stroking his dog's head. "I'm so sorry for everything. I didn't mean to leave you behind." Max looked up at Sam, his eyes filled with nothing but love and trust. It was as if he understood that Sam's heart had been broken too, but now the hurt was over. They were back together, and nothing could change that. Lisa wiped away a tear as she watched. She had seen a lot of dogs come and go from the shelter, but there was something special about Max. His loyalty, his patience. It was a reminder of the power of love and the deep connection between humans and their pets. "Sam," she said softly, "we're just glad he's going home with you." Sam smiled, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't believe it. I almost lost him forever. I'm never letting him go again." As the hours passed, Sam and Max spent time together, walking around the shelter grounds, reconnecting. Max was full of energy, wagging his tail and sniffing everything in sight, as if he had just discovered the world all over again. But it wasn't just Max's reunion that made this day unforgettable. As Sam and Max were about to leave, something unexpected happened. A woman, who had been standing quietly in the background, approached Lisa. She had tears in her eyes too, but her face was filled with a sense of hope. "I saw Max's story," the woman said softly, "and it broke my heart. I have a dog too, who I had to leave behind a few years ago. I couldn't afford to keep her anymore, and I didn't know what to do. She was taken to another shelter, but I couldn't find her. I thought I'd never see her again." Lisa looked at her, surprised. "I'm so sorry. That must have been so hard." The woman nodded. "It was. But when I saw Max, I realized, maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe there are more people out there who've lost their dogs. I want to help. I want to give back." Sam overheard the conversation, and he turned to the woman. "You're right," he said. "Max's story made me realize something. I was lucky. I found him. But there are so many others out there waiting." The woman smiled. "Exactly. Maybe we can help those dogs too. Maybe we can reunite families." Sam's eyes brightened. "You know, that's a great idea. Maybe we can use Max's story to help more dogs like him. We can raise awareness about what happens when pets are abandoned and how important it is to make sure they're cared for." Lisa nodded. "I think people need to hear these stories. They need to see how deep the bond between pets and their families really is. Maybe if we all work together, we can make sure no dog has to wait as long as Max did." That night, Sam sat down with Lisa and the shelter staff. They talked about how they could turn Max's reunion into something bigger. They decided to start a campaign to raise awareness about abandoned pets, and they would use Max's story to inspire others. The next day, the shelter posted a video of Max's reunion on social media. They shared his story, how he had waited so long for his owner to come back, and how, against all odds, they had found each other again. The video went viral. People from all over the world watched as Max and Sam shared their moment of joy. Comments flooded in. People shared their own stories of pets they had lost or found. Some wrote about how Max's story had inspired them to adopt a dog or donate to animal shelters. One comment stood out. Max's story reminded me of how much love we have for our animals. I'm going to adopt a dog today. I want to make sure they never feel abandoned. Max's reunion became more than just a personal story. It became a movement. People everywhere began to understand the importance of compassion and responsibility when it came to pets. And for Max and Sam, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one where they could share their love and inspire others to never give up on the animals who depend on them. Sam looked at Max, his faithful companion. "We did it, boy. We made it through. And now we get to make a difference." Max wagged his tail, as if to say, "I'm with you, always." Max and Sam had no idea how their story would change the world. They thought it was just about them, just about their reunion. But as the days passed, they began to see something incredible happening. The video of Max's reunion went viral. People from all over the world shared it, telling their own stories of love, loss, and the hope that animals bring into our lives. The shelter's phone started ringing nonstop with offers to help, to donate, and to adopt. The movement had begun. Sam and Max received messages from people who had experienced the pain of losing a pet, or, like Sam, having to give one up. Some shared stories of reunions that seemed impossible, while others wrote about the dogs they had rescued. But there were also messages from people who had never thought much about abandoned pets. Until now. One evening, as Max lay beside Sam on the couch, Sam stared at his phone, reading through the comments. One comment caught his eye. "Max, you saved my dog. You reminded me to go look for him. And I found him." Sam smiled, but there was something deeper in his heart. He realized that Max's story wasn't just a personal story of love and loss. It had become a symbol of hope, patience, and never giving up on a friend. The next morning, Sam had an idea. He called Lisa, the volunteer at the shelter. "Lisa, we need to do something big. Max's story is touching so many people, but there's more we can do. I think we can help change the way people see abandoned pets." Lisa was excited. "What do you have in mind?" Sam paused for a moment, thinking. "We can start a campaign. Use Max's story to raise awareness about responsible pet ownership and help shelters all over the country. I want to make sure no dog ever feels the way Max did." Lisa was thrilled by the idea. "We can share the importance of adoption and help people understand how important it is to never give up on a pet. We can partner with shelters, get donations, and maybe even find homes for more dogs. It's worth a shot." Over the next few weeks, Sam, Lisa, and the shelter staff worked together to turn Sam's idea into a reality. They reached out to other animal shelters, animal advocacy groups, and even local businesses that were willing to help. They set up a website and social media pages to share Max's story, along with tips for responsible pet ownership and adoption. Soon, they had hundreds of followers, and the campaign was growing faster than they had imagined. Max's story had sparked something much bigger than they could have expected. People who had never thought about adopting dogs now started considering it. Shelters were reporting an increase in visitors and applications for adoption. Max's face became the symbol of their campaign, a reminder that pets are more than just animals. They are family. And just like people, they deserve love, respect, and care. The logo they created said it all. Never give up on love. Adopt, don't abandon. But the real reward for Sam came when he received a letter from a family in another state. The letter was addressed to Max. "I saw your story, Max, the letter began. I had a dog named Daisy, and she disappeared a year ago. I searched everywhere for her, but I never found her. But after seeing your video, I decided to go back to the shelter where I first adopted Daisy. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd be there. And she was. Sam read the letter aloud to Max, who was lying beside him on the couch. Max's tail wagged, as if he understood how much this story meant. This wasn't just one family finding their dog. It was about giving people the courage to search again, to never stop believing in the bond they shared with their pets. As weeks turned into months, the campaign gained more momentum. The shelter was receiving donations, and more dogs were being adopted, thanks to the awareness raised by Max's story. Max and Sam traveled to various events, speaking about adoption and responsible pet ownership. Every time they spoke, more people were touched, and more dogs found their forever homes. The campaign was even featured in local news. People started calling it the Max movement. It was a story about love, loss, and second chances, just like Max's journey. And it was helping people understand something important. When you adopt a dog, you're not just giving them a home. You're giving them hope. One night, as Sam looked down at Max, who was curled up at his feet, he whispered, "We've made a difference, boy. I knew we could do it together." Max's tail thumped softly in response, and in that quiet moment, Sam knew their work wasn't done. There were still more dogs to save, more families to reunite, and more hearts to heal. Together, Max and Sam had started something bigger than themselves, a movement that would continue for years to come. All because a dog had never given up on his owner. The Max movement was growing faster than Sam had ever imagined. What started as a simple story of reunion had turned into something bigger than anyone expected. People from all over the world were joining the movement, adopting dogs, donating to shelters, and sharing their own stories of pets they had lost or rescued. Max had become a symbol of hope, not just for people who had lost their pets, but also for those who needed a reminder of the power of love and patience. One sunny afternoon, Sam sat down with Lisa at the shelter. They had just returned from a local event where they had talked about the importance of adopting dogs. The crowd had been huge, and so many people came forward, asking how they could help. "You know, Lisa," Sam said, his voice thoughtful, "I've been thinking. We're making a difference here, but what if we could do more? What if we could make the Max movement even bigger? We could reach more people. We could make it easier for families to adopt, and for shelters to get the support they need." Lisa's eyes lit up. "What do you have in mind?" Sam smiled. "What if we started a nationwide campaign? We could partner with shelters across the country and get them the resources they need. More volunteers, more donations, more attention for the dogs who need homes." Lisa nodded eagerly. "That sounds amazing. We could get Max's story on even more platforms, TV, social media, even radio. And maybe we could get people to adopt dogs from different cities or even states. We could do adoption events, where families can meet the dogs that need homes." Sam's excitement grew. "Exactly. And we could make sure that every dog has the chance to find a loving home. Maybe we could set up a website where people can see available dogs from all over the country. We could help make sure no dog has to wait for too long, like Max did." Lisa's smile was wide. "We could call it the Max Adoption Network." Over the next few months, Sam, Lisa, and the team at the shelter worked tirelessly to make the idea a reality. They reached out to shelters across the country, talking to directors and volunteers, asking them to join the Max Adoption Network. They also connected with businesses, celebrities, and influencers who could help spread the word. It wasn't easy, but Sam's determination and Max's powerful story made people want to get involved. The first event they organized was huge. It was a nationwide adoption day, where shelters all over the country held special adoption events. They had volunteers and even some celebrities present to meet the dogs and encourage families to adopt. People could meet dogs from different shelters and get to know their stories. It was a massive success, and over 1,000 dogs found new homes that day. Max was there too, of course. He traveled with Sam to every event, greeting new families and spreading the message of hope. He was more than just a dog. He was the heart of the movement. A few weeks after the adoption event, Sam received a message that brought tears to his eyes. It was from a young woman named Emily. She had grown up with a dog named Buddy, but Buddy had passed away a few years ago, and Emily had been heartbroken. She had been thinking about adopting another dog, but didn't know where to start. "I saw Max's story," Emily wrote, "and I knew I had to find my Buddy again. I didn't think it was possible, but I went to my local shelter, and there he was. Buddy had been adopted by someone else, but I found out they couldn't keep him. So now, Buddy is home with me. Thank you for giving me the courage to search for him." Sam couldn't hold back his tears as he read the message. Max had not only helped change the lives of thousands of dogs, but had also given people like Emily the strength to never stop looking for their lost pets. Max's story had inspired so many people to believe in second chances. The Max Adoption Network was becoming a nationwide movement, thanks to the efforts of Sam, Lisa, and everyone involved. Shelters were seeing more adoptions, more donations, and more people interested in responsible pet ownership. Max's story was spreading, and with each person who joined the movement, the hope for abandoned pets grew stronger. Sam looked at Max, who was curled up on the couch, his eyes peaceful. "We did it, Buddy. You've made a bigger difference than we ever dreamed of." Max's tail thumped on the floor in agreement, as if to say, "We're just getting started." The movement wasn't just about finding homes for dogs. It was about changing hearts. Max's story had reminded people that every pet, no matter their past, deserves a loving home and a second chance, and that was something worth fighting for. The Max Adoption Network was only beginning. Sam and Max knew that there were still more dogs waiting for their chance, and they would keep pushing forward to make sure every dog had a family to call their own. The Max Adoption Network had become a household name. What started as a small idea had blossomed into something truly special. Max's story of love, loss, and reunion had inspired thousands of people. More families were adopting dogs, more shelters were getting the help they needed, and more lives were being changed. But Sam and Max knew there was still more work to be done. They couldn't stop now. They had started a movement, and they were determined to make sure every dog had a chance to be loved. One morning, Sam sat down with Lisa at the shelter, the place where it all began. "We've come so far," Sam said, "but I think we can still do more. We've helped so many dogs find homes, but there are still so many waiting. We need to reach even more people." Lisa agreed. "You're right. The Max Adoption Network is growing, but we need to keep the momentum going. Maybe we can create some new programs, things that can keep spreading the message of adoption." Sam's eyes brightened. "What if we start a program that connects shelters with schools? We can teach kids about responsible pet ownership and how to treat animals with love and respect. If we teach them early, they'll grow up understanding the importance of adoption." Lisa smiled. "That's a great idea. Kids can be powerful advocates for change. If they learn about adoption, they might convince their families to adopt instead of buying pets, and they could even volunteer at shelters when they're older." The idea was a success. Soon, Sam and Lisa were traveling to schools all over the country, giving talks to children about the importance of adopting pets. They shared Max's story and explained how animals were not just pets, but family members who deserved love and care. The kids were always excited to meet Max. He would sit patiently while they petted him, his tail wagging gently, as if he understood the message they were spreading. The children loved Max, and many of them went home and convinced their parents to visit shelters. At one school, a young boy named Jack stood up and said, "I want to adopt a dog. My family has been talking about it, but we weren't sure where to start. Now I know we should go to a shelter." Sam and Lisa had exchanged a proud look. This was exactly what they wanted, to inspire a new generation to care about animals and make adoption the first choice. As the months went by, The Max Adoption Network continued to grow. The program reached more schools, and more families started adopting dogs. Sam and Lisa also worked on creating partnerships with local businesses, offering discounts and incentives for people who adopted dogs from shelters. One day, Sam received a letter from a woman named Sarah. She had watched the video of Max's reunion and decided to adopt a dog. She wrote that she had lost her dog a few years ago and hadn't been able to bring herself to adopt another one. But after seeing Max's story, she realized that there were so many dogs who needed homes. She had visited a local shelter and adopted a dog named Rocky. "I just wanted to say thank you," Sarah wrote. "Max's story showed me that love never really leaves us. I had a lot of pain from losing my dog, but I found a new friend in Rocky. And I couldn't have done it without Max." Sam read the letter aloud to Max, who was lying at his feet, his ears perked up as if he understood every word. Max wagged his tail and nudged Sam's hand, as if saying, "It's worth it. Every time." The Max Adoption Network was becoming more than just a movement. It was a community. Families, volunteers, businesses, and even celebrities were joining in to help. The shelters that had once struggled to find homes for their animals were now seeing more and more dogs being adopted. It was clear that Max had started something that would continue to grow for years to come. But for Sam and Max, the best part was seeing the joy on the faces of the families who adopted the dogs. Every time Max met a new family, his tail wagged with excitement, as if he knew that the dog was going to have a better life. One afternoon, as Sam and Max stood outside a shelter, watching a family drive away with their newly adopted dog, Sam looked down at Max and said, "We've done it, buddy. We've changed the world." Max looked up at Sam, his eyes full of love, and gave a soft bark. The Max Adoption Network was not just about helping dogs. It was about changing hearts. It was about teaching people that love, loyalty, and second chances were not just for dogs, but for everyone. And with each new family that opened their heart to a dog, the world became a little brighter, one adoption at a time. Sam and Max had made a difference, and they knew they would continue to make the world a better place for all the dogs waiting for their forever homes.